I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and again, a lot of the money got put for that reform by the Koch brothers, who are god awful on so many things. As a matter of Republican Party philosophy, the drug war is offensive. Our Republican Party in Texas has a straightforward platform. Now, transforming it politically into action is a whole other thing. But the Republican Party platform in Texas is pro-hemp, pro-decriminalization of marijuana, pro-prison social justice reform, prison reform and private. The Republican Party typically isn't.
Brad, can you hear that, Brad?
Like to spend money on stupid things.
Yeah, so
I'm listening, but there's a vast difference between the Texas legislature and the Michigan legislature.
Sure. But I'm saying, and I would, in taking it from Texas, I would say even amongst the federal Republican legislature, there was overtones of legislation seeking to do criminal justice reform, which was only talked about during the Obama administration as something he was trying to champion. But nevertheless, it's an issue that's being talked about. But okay, so let's talk about this other thing, Brad. All right, so I'm looking at the post that you took issue with.
Let's read the post.
All right, it was published. It states the following: that referring to Detroit News article, it says, "Gift of pot, marijuana businesses work in Michigan law's gray area." The post says this idea has been gaining traction, and we've spoke to many who are considering this platform. ... as Donald Trump does. ... Just kidding. Let us walk you through the decision with confidence. Call 1-800-656-3557. I do not interpret this to be a...
Well, no, now let's read Brad's response.
Okay. He said, so his response on Safer Mish or the post?
I don't know. Which one is funnier?
The Safer Mish one is funnier.
Post.
Safer Mish, then.
Well, read the post, though. That's the one. That's the public one. The Safer Mish is all kind of private.
All right, it says, are you sure about this? Have you read the Harborside decision? So, my comment that this idea has been gaining traction, I would agree. Reading the Harborside decision, yes, this idea of people doing this is getting traction. And we've spoken to many who are considering this platform. That is also true. If you're thinking about doing this, they should probably talk to me, and I can walk you through that decision and give you confidence in whichever decision you make and why. I don't know what I'm endorsing.
But here's how social media works, Michael. Michael Camorn says it's okay to operate these businesses. So I'm just going to go out and do it. Hell, I don't need to spend $5,000 to talk to Michael about this. If he says it's okay, there's got to be a way. And I've gotten a couple emails to that effect. All I'm asking is that you take that kind of stuff into consideration. I think if you'd have said that on the safer list, I wouldn't have made a damn peep. But because it's out in the public domain, and there are plenty of crazies in our public domain that
I know. Listen, I totally understand that.
Parsed a little bit better.
This would be under a category of, and I hate to use this, but searching for business. It's searching for business. It's like, hey, before you make a stupid decision, call us. We'll charge you some money, and I can advise you about what's going to happen. I'm not telling anyone to do it. It's really like it's a calling out for you need legal advice. You should think about that. That's the intention. I can understand by looking at it. It has the.
I understand what your intention was, but you've got to understand what the effect was as well.
Yeah. Okay, but I don't know. Again, I agree with you that there's. First of all, Brad, I was thinking about this before when I was hoping we'd have this conversation. I take great pride in being one of the few lawyers that did not, represent folks suggesting that they go and operate in the gray area.
Highest esteem, Michael.
What's that?
Highest esteem. You're in my top two or three lawyers in the state of Michigan.
I appreciate that. Listen, he's been around a long time. It's fair. It's good. It's an honor. Listen, I say that so and I think first of all, whatever development I've had of the MMA understanding, Brad, I want to give you a lot of credit. We had a very special time when the MMA first passed, hanging out in like on
We helped
Mount
shape the law
Olympus,
is what we
Mount
did.
Olympus, reading the act to each other and talking and analyzing. So it was a really like special time in terms of us embracing, chewing it, and digesting it, learning a lot about it. But so I, and I think out of that, I learned a lot, and I've always erred and deferred for the safety, and even to the extent that people probably are mad at me that I didn't get them into business in Detroit because they probably could have made some money, but I may have diverted them away from that. I've represented many people that have had different advice been put into business, so I'm very sensitive to overdoing it. Brad, I understand what you're saying here. But it's I don't know that you were spot on that I didn't post it. It was somebody else. It was more like a swing through and try to, but
It was a tag team.
it was it was call us. It's one of those. Hey, we're getting calls in this. You should call us, and we can help you.
Michael, that's fine. I was just giving you my perspective and what my sense of it was from some reaction that I had, taken.
Let's talk about it
Jump
beyond
into
that.
this real quick, and maybe we should preface this and reiterate this. But on the Facebook page, in the general information section at the bottom, under host of Green Trees Radio, nothing on this Facebook page is to
Hold
be
on,
considered
forget it.
legal
Fine,
advice
fine.
or entering into an
But
attorney-client
listen,
relationship.
I don't want to be loose with the information. And Brad's point is well taken,
Certainly.
which is the reading of this could be like, oh, because most people read things like that. They don't even read the whole thing. They read a headline and a word or two.
That's
Brad,
right. That's right.
Brad's just concerned about people's safety.
It's fine.
that's
So
all.
I'm not.
For sure.
I'm not. Okay. So let me be clear. If people need to tune in
And then
at the
that's all I
909
am
mark.
concerned with is people's safety.
That's fine,
I don't care who makes money in the business. That's none of my concern. I just don't want to see people get arrested for not reading the story, for not making the call, for whatever stupid reason.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of stupid people out there. And I apologize to all the stupid people who I'm calling stupid.
Well, I think we're both of the. Listen, in addition to us wanting to talk more in depth, and I think we should save that maybe for another day about hemp. I know we're all very excited, and we have to gather and discuss things about upcoming events and working on things like that. But let's talk for a minute, if we can. Got a couple of lawyers in here. We got a Federalist. We got a musician or two. We've got Jamie Lowell, who has answers to everything. Rick Thompson is never without
I'm
an
just a
opinion.
simple country boy, so I'll
And
do my
but
best.
let's talk about this whole thing here. So we got gift of pot, marijuana business, work in Michigan's law gray area. I'm not going to ever advise. Shyler, come back. I'm not going to advise anyone to operate within a gray area because it subjects them to lack of certainty and clarity, and that's not a good thing. And lenity, the idea of lenity does not really fly. That the law is confusing. Like you're supposed to know the law in advance. Now, what we are seeing are some very radical business models. I think we know and seen the guy that's selling, I think it was in Grand Rapids, chocolate. Like join the revolution, pay me X amount of dollars a month, you get free chocolate and marijuana, right? Something like that.
Well, there's an instant issue with that, which is that he's
Here, Josh Colton wants to talk on the instant issue, not instant coffee.
Hey,
Instant issue.
Brad, how's it going? The instant issue with that.
Excellent, Josh.
The instant issue with that situation is that what the rule says in regards to giving is that the portion of it says as long as the transfer is not advertised or promoted to the public. So you can gift product is how I would interpret that, but you can't go out and say, "Hey guys, I'm running a business and I will be gifting marijuana."
Everybody gets a bag of weed.
And all to bring somebody in.
Right, exactly.
Well, I would say this. Let's
Can I ask one question here? Is there any court clarification on if a newspaper article or
That's a good question.
dozens of them at this point, because I've seen a dozen articles about this gifting, business, is that a form of advertising? I mean,
No, but I would argue that the
it's
gentleman.
drawing more people to their business than if they ran an ad in the goddamn phone book.
But if you go to this guy's website, he actually advertises the
There it
marijuana
is.
portion of the gift.
here you go.
There it is.
The point is this: you might be able to clearly the intention here. Let's talk about this from some of the general
I
advice.
I agree with Brad's comments where a newspaper is gray.
Yes, but I look at the newspapers reporting this as gray area. They're not calling it one way or the other, and they're certainly not calling, making the call. But backing up a little bit, in terms of the advertising. The advertising at issue is about the marijuana giveaway, right? So there could be advertising for other.
Yeah.
One could argue.
Like you could
now,
be
I'm
selling
not suggesting.
socks.
First of all, I should preface: none of this is legal advice. We're having a debate on this topic, Brad. I want to hear your
This is
thoughts.
hypothetical
Right.
No.
speculation.
Right.
There's no legal
but the
advice.
safe answer, Josh, is clearly to not be public about it. And I think that as a general rule, if any of this is going to take place, it needs to be done in the context of a private club. It is within the privacy zones and
Loose
privacy
lips.
that if you're going to receive protections, it is within there that they will exist. In public, clearly, usage of marijuana, most significantly, is not necessarily protected. I mean, the penalties, etc. But
Speaking purely in hypotheticals, though, just kind of running around the idea that Michael's talking about. Hypothetically, if you're an owner of a coffee shop and without advertising or promoting in any capacity, social media, anything referencing marijuana, you just happen to, on Fridays, give away joints to people as they're taking their morning coffee, assuming that you're following all the other rules to the point of getting that marijuana and having it in your possession before you give it away, would that potentially be considered a legitimate gift?
listen, there's something to what you're saying which has some validity to that, but I think it comes down to the question of how open to the public it is. The people having access to that, whether it's a, private entity.
Do people under 18 have access?
Yeah. And are the people that are going in there and having access doing it from the public versus some other selection of privacy or through the private? But I don't disagree that, generally speaking, if they're in there, arguably from not advertising, that this is taking place, and they're there not in a place that's open to the public, but it's a private, and that within the confines of that, there's reasonableness. I think reasonableness is what will dictate. I was going to make the joke. There's things that I remember from law school. Number one, make love, not law review. Everyone remembers that, right? Number two was no joke, no laughing, nothing that's funny. Come on. Nobody's listening.
Word,
All
I feel you.
The other one was...
That was so deep, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it.
Law review, so.
Make love, not law review. What was I
Yeah.
even talking about? I forgot. That was
I was so
I don't even
busy
know where
making love, I never got to the law review.
This
why I have
conversation
5
just
kids.
went off the track. Derailed. I think the question
lawyers.
is, do people want to get cute? And there's this whole risk versus reward associated with this model. And the greater risk you take, the greater potential reward. But the risk here, just like with the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, could be as severe as they are able to pierce the act and you fall back on the public health code. So if people...
Felonies.
Here you go. Make love, not law review. And the reasonable person standard, right? That's the other thing. Like this fantasy person that's sitting in a jury box that's going to decide everybody's fate. Who is it? I don't know. It's a reasonable guy, the reasonable person. Would 12 people agree or disagree?
Right.
If they would all agree, one way, would 12 people disagree, then you have a question of fact, you get to a jury. 12 people disagree, the judge is going to, theoretically, let it get to jury versus, it just sets a standard of bar. So that was my point. The reasonable standard, Brad, in terms of earnings, amounts associated with membership fees to get in, the amount they're walking out of, the cost of whatever it is associated with it. I mean, keep it in mind that the private club would be able to charge fees for
operations.
and within that.
That's if you're doing a private club. Apparently, reading that new article in the Free Press today, they're saying basically any private event, as long as you sell your tickets in advance and you sell them to people over 21. Or maybe you can even sell tickets at the door. I'm not certain about all that.
Well,
but
I would
I
say
think
this.
as long
Listen,
as you
Brad,
check ID,
I think there's validity to that. Because
Brad, I would
when
say
you look
this.
At in this
we should wait. We're going to make a commitment here on Planet Green Trees.
Yeah.
Everyone willing to commit to championing the cause of adult recreational use, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
can we all say we're sick of walking to a place and having the only choice of indulgence being alcohol?
Well, and that's why the private club model will work.
What I'm saying is that there are other events that exist that there should be
Yeah.
the use of cannabis